not winning 90% of your new business because you have some sort of incredible value.
I'm going to take a bit of a different angle.
We got a budget this big. I'm going to give it to you because you have a really killer plan.
You give a Red Bull to a turtle, what do you expect?
I think that's a dead turtle. So let's move on to...
E-Rig.
Cheers.
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 Does your current premium finance company lock you into long-term agreements? That's because they don't want you talking to us. At IFS, we win your business the good old-fashioned way, with customer service. I know you don't always have to use a premium finance company, but when you do, you should use IFS. Cheers.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Insurance Pint podcast. We're now into season 6. Who would have thought that when we first started? Hey. Let's get her going here, and pleased today to have with us CJ Nolan. CJ, how's it going?
Everything's great, guys. Perfect.
Awesome. And I'm, as always, joined by my colleagues, Steve Earle, CEO of Cheap Insurance.
Hello.
Adam Mitchell, CEO of Mitch Insurance.
Hello.
And Jeff Roy, CEO of Excalibur Insurance, and soon to be owner of a Netflix script to be.
Nice. Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys. So, Jeff, I'm going to get you to help our listeners get a little deep dive into CJ, so I'm going to kick it over to you.
So CJ, tell all the listeners, we want to get to know CJ Nolan, owner of one of the Canadian Brokerage of the Year. What is your favorite band, your favorite Canadian musician?
Well, my favorite Canadian musician, I think his birthday was yesterday, but he had passed away a few years ago. Score Downing was my, I guess, and Try Sleep are my favorite band. So I guess they're the soundtrack to my soul, as I would say.
So maybe you haven't, but I'm sure you've been screeched in, and you probably don't love the rum out there. What is your favorite drink of choice?
You know, I'm a beer guy for the most part. I like a glass of red wine every once in a while, but certainly not a Caesar guy like you, Jeff, by any stretch of the imagination. But that's kind of where I am.
Well, that's all good. Now, Adam Mitchell wants to know this. What is your handicap for golf?
My handicap when I ended the season last year was 1.8 is my index, so that's around scratchish.
So how many, Adam, how many strokes would you get from CJ if you played him?
I think I would have a stroke trying to compete with CJ.
Now, you an iPhone user or Android user?
A total Apple user right now, and I think that's just because of a historical thing I haven't gotten out of more than anything.
Okay, what's the last app you downloaded on your phone?
The last app I downloaded was probably the one for this podcast to check it out yesterday, but besides that, can't really tell you.
Okay, good. And last for the listeners, that we want to know what the top brokers are reading and listening to. What's your favorite podcast or what's your favorite book that you're enjoying right now?
I like a bunch of different podcasts. I mean, I've listened to all your guys' podcast. I thought the last season was great. There's a few on to go. Daniel Song's podcast is good in the U.S. I like listening to several others. The Insurance Guys podcast is funny at times and that kind of thing. They're a little wild, and there's a few others. Books wise, I think I haven't read a book in quite a while, but I'm doing a lot more audiobooks and that kind of thing these days, but I actually haven't had one in my hand in a while.
Great job, CJ. I'll pass it back over to the rest of the guys.
It's a boring question, but it's a good story. So we want to know about the origin of your brokerage. So Munn is
over 100 years old. It's actually not quite that boring. We've been around quite a while. So the Munn family, the Munn name comes from a merchant group here in Newfoundland. And they used to deliver cod liver oil and fish to and from London, England, and that kind of thing from Newfoundland. And I guess they, you know, how insurance all started out, they pooled money to get the cargo ships back and forth. So if they had investors that went in, they made money when it went across and got back. And if they didn't, they shared in the loss. And that's how it began.
You guys were a mutual to begin with 100 years ago, really?
Yeah. You know, in 1949, we incorporated ourselves as a Newfoundland company. So 3 days before Confederation, actually. We had the document in our office there. And yeah, the Munn family, John Munn was my father's, the owner of the business when my father went to work with them in the early 70s. And we had our own insurance company until 1996, December 31st, that we sold to Aviva, which was some other brand at the time. And since then, we've been running a retail delegated authority sort of MGA agreement with those guys. And we own the clients. They own the underwriting and claim service. And that's what we've been doing. But we've since then, we're not a direct arm or anything like that. We work with all of our markets in Newfoundland, and got some real good relationships now, and that's really grown over the years. So that's kind of us in a nutshell.
So how big is Munn today? A couple of follow-ups here on both staff count and on BMS.
If we're looking at people-wise, we're probably around 90. Now we do have an independent adjusting firm. We do claims management for Aviva, so that's thrown in there. I would say 10 years ago, we probably would have been more around 110 employees with probably about 30% less business, trying to make the same operation run. And, we've really been able to put in some good measures, really get a lot more efficient, and gone from running a traditional business to more of an omni-channel experience. And, the front end's gotten much cleaner and sleeker. On the back end, we're all trying to get more efficient and use different technology and use different ways of doing things. And that's really worked out. The BMS we're using is Applied Epic. And, Applied's been a real good help to us in moving our business forward, because we operated our own IT software that we developed ourselves until 2015. So at that point in time, when we switched to Epic, I think we were like the third broker in Canada to make the change over to Applied Epic at the time. And that sort of really was our first way into seeing, direct bill and going with different companies and download and all that kind of thing. So that was our really first introduction into that. Outside of them, we were paper pushing an awful lot that really slowed us down. And since then, it's been a real good move forward. So that's kind of where we are.
CJ, Munn won Canadian Broker of the Year recently. Congratulations. It's awesome. Can you give us a quick overview of the submission process itself, but then tell us, why did you win? What was it about Munn that caused you guys to win the Brokerage of the Year award?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm going to say that it's always better to have much smarter people around than you to make you look good. So Adam and I have certainly done a real good job of making sure that that's the case. My brother Adam, not Adam Mitchell, and we've onboarded our CFO Carla Warren, who is a real no BS type girl, but she really gets the job done. And Brian King, who's come over as an industry marketing leader, as our chief marketing officer, was really instrumental in putting the application together, getting that out there. And I think Brian's really good at delivering a message and talking about what we do, what our unique value proposition is, and he was able to put that into the 5-step process that led to us getting to the end line of the winner of that. And that's kind of how it went. It was Brian took me through the process today of what it is, and it was a few months of doing different things. But it was really cool, because when we actually won the award, I was I think I might have told Jeff this before. I was sat there and I was thinking, it's great. Like, there's so many good brokers that we're like up against here. Like, this is great just to be named. And we were sat there and I was chatting to the guy next to me, and they announced it, and I was sort of still chatting. And my brother's like, "Come on, we got to go up." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "We won." I was like, "No shit." So anyway, we jumped up and went up and won. And I think I went up there and I was like, "Yes, spy." And so no, it was really good. I think we've come a long way in really becoming more strategic in our approach. Really spreading out, which way we want to go with certain avenues, and digitalizing. I am not good with that word, but that's it's not digitizing anymore. I've been told that several different times, but we've really incorporated it into our everyday life and gotten much sleeker, leaner, faster in doing so. So I think that really helped us push us forward.
Awesome. Quick follow-up question. What was the reaction amongst your team? Like, not the senior folks who, obviously put all this stuff together, but the frontline folks, how do they feel to be part of that? They want to raise.
When we announced it and that kind of thing, like we obviously let our managers know that night, we got a picture with the award and all that kind of thing. And that was really cool, and a lot of feedback right away, because actually they were waiting to hear, because they knew we were nominated for 2 awards that night, and they were waiting to hear back. And when we said that we won the Brokerage of the Year, like, it was like, I don't know, it was a long page of text just going. When the next day we announced it, it seemed like we got a comment or feedback back from everybody, how proud they were and being a part of the team. And it's a team award when you win something like that, and you can't do it without everybody pulling on the same oar and doing the same thing. So no, it was good. The one thing that we every year we do a town hall, and we bring in everybody for like a bit of a town hall, bring them in, like, we want to get feedback. And it was the first time we all came together from across Atlantic Canada, and we were at the movie theater, and we finally were able to go down in front of the movie theater and get someone to take a picture of our whole team with the award in front of it, down at the bottom of the theater. And I thought that was a really cool moment for us and that kind of thing. So that was good.
I want you to share with our listeners what you've done to digitize your brokerage. You mentioned about how you've done a bunch of things on the front end. You mentioned about how you cut down your staff by 30% and handled more volume. You did mention you use Epic. What are some of the tools you're using, whether it's RPA or whether it's CRMs or VoIP or any other tools you're using from a marketing perspective? Maybe just share with the listeners some of the cool stuff you're doing and what's making a difference.
Yeah, so the big things that we've done, I mean, obviously we have Epic as our main system that does our data capture and helps us with our our download, upload, accounting functionality, that kind of thing. But there's really 4 types of investment that we make to run the business and that kind of thing. So first one on the front end is on sales is lead generation. So our marketing competency led by Brian King, our chief marketing officer, has really pushed us forward. Whether that's leads coming in the digital door or over the phone, how we define the persona of what that looks like. Because in Newfoundland we don't have the same gray markets that they have in Ontario or other places. So it's standard market or facility. And when you're really trying to push where you're trying to go and define a persona, we can't be everything to everyone. So we try to spend our meaningful time with the clients and get the most out of it. When we're and unlike places such as Ontario where you have millions of people, we've got 500,000 in our province in Newfoundland. And Steve, you can argue what the number is in Nova Scotia as well. But we really just want to wring out the best fit for us and spend a meaningful time, because everyone can spend time on every single different lead management process. It just slows down the engine. The second part with that is our lead management system, and that's Velocify. So we run the lead management system. We're trying to get smarter every day. We're defining the hot lead versus warm lead versus partial lead a lot better than we did. And with those partial leads, we're even starting to define the characteristics for our preferred persona. So that's become a lot better in the last 12 months. And we're really making more out of leads that were almost throwaways a few years ago, and today they're a lot better. One of the tools that we brought on was Rocket Referrals a few years ago, and some of you guys may be using that or not, but that really helps us to improve our 4-star plus Google rankings, better understanding of our promoters and our detractors through voice of customer. And that's something that we really spend a lot of time with. We actually view those every week and really go through them, and that's where we spend a lot of time there. Last but not least, on the back end, so automating the back end for efficiency, using RPA, so using bots, using robotic process automation. I guess this is where I do the shout out to Jackson Jameson at Quandary, who are helping us through some of the things that we want to do. But you're using standard naming conventions across all documents and activities is the one that we started with. Download, or your bot runs the download to match unmatched policies. And the next one that we're going to be implementing is the renewal process bot, and that's going to really help us to look at one renewal year over year, see where we are, see where we're missing, if there's any cross-sell, upsell opportunities, that kind of thing. But I spoke to these guys, but there are so many other of these RPA firms out there right now that are trying to get into our insurance business. And we spoke to a group, Alleviant, today, and they're doing reconciliation of direct bill, and it's pretty sleek. They're bought by a some kind of a capital firm or VC firm just recently, but it's very cost effective and it looks like it's really cool. And that's a group out of Texas that we spoke with, and I was really shocked when they actually gave us the number of what it was going to cost us per month. It was much lower than I thought it was going to be.
CJ, we've been talking to them too. Between Quandary and Alleviant, there's great things going on. Awesome stuff that we're getting access to that we've never had access to before. I feel like the last year has really turned it on for availability of stuff that can really solve problems and cure frustrations.
Well, yeah. One other thing too. I mean, a lot of this administrative work, just people don't want to do it in your shop, right? Like, that can be people exiting because they don't want to do some of the stuff that you're putting in front of them. Not only are you getting more efficient, but people just don't want to do the stuff. And if you can get to an 80% efficiency or 85%, and you're only leaving 15 to 20% to go back to, that certainly helps out to move the day along. And we can put our revenue to work a lot better.
Well, I think the future, you point it right out there, like your BMS should be doing a lot of the functions. Unfortunately, it can't requote right now, but someday they will be able to. You have virtual assistants, you can offshore people. Steve's got some experience with that. I've got some experience using VA companies. You've got digital virtual assistants available. There's a company called Koios is working on building something to plug into the phone to use AI to talk to clients to get information to put in your BMS. It's not quite there yet, but they're working on it. You got RPA, and then at the end of the day, you got humans, right? That's kind of the last. And people are trying to replace a lot of the non-stuff that humans don't have to do with tech, and to do better processes, and then let the humans do what they do best, right? A couple follow-up questions to you quickly. Tell our listeners what companies, like, do you have 4 or 5 standard companies in Newfoundland?
So in Newfoundland, our standard markets are basically Aviva with a group offering too, as well with the traders, Travelers with a group offering, Intact, and that's it. And then we're using MGAs to run some of this through, and then of course you got your Intact specialty market. In Nova Scotia, there's more options there, and Steve would know of those as well. And you've got the Pembridge, CAA, Wawanese's there, Economical, that kind of stuff, and that's really helped us with some of the things with appetite and some other things that we're doing in Nova Scotia that we weren't able to do in Newfoundland. We're still not really a gray market broker. We write that stuff if it comes to us, but that's certainly not something that we're a focus on. It's something that we do it on accommodation, that kind of thing, but we're not turning those people or kicking them out the door, but it's not real easy to do business with us for that type of business right now.
One last question on your tech stack. Are you using any mobile apps or portals for self-service for your clients, or does nobody get into that in Newfoundland? Is that not a big thing?
We talked about that a lot, and did a lot of research on the uptake, and we couldn't see anybody who was doing more than uptake than 5 to 10%. And we didn't see the point of spending time on doing some of these things. Now, there's a lot of companies out there telling you that we should be doing that, and we should be using CSR 24 and offering people to do certificates. But we've yet to see the need today, and maybe in 2023 to do that. But if someone's able to make it easier and and transfer some of this data over, through a bot or automation wise, where we don't have to manually key punch it as much, we may do some of that. But it's not really fluent right now, Jeff, running that stuff as much as I would like to see it.
So the question I have is, what are your biggest brokerage challenges in 2023? But I'm going to dive a little bit deeper on that. I want you to put them into buckets, and I want you to keep it short, but tell me insurer-wise, biggest challenges there, operational-wise, so internal versus supplier, and then you could throw around a miscellaneous. It could be technology. It could be whatever you want. So give me those 3 biggest challenges.
Insurer-wise, product is a challenge for us in Newfoundland as such. Not so much in Nova Scotia. That's our biggest challenge, and it's going to continue to be. Our government is not really helping us either with some of the things in the way they do business, or make the companies do business. So that's a challenge for many different ways. So that's the biggest thing. There's no one company causes any more grief than the other. And we found that the BD reps are very helpful in moving things along, especially operationally wise. To be honest with you, Steve, they've gotten a lot better with that, or they have, for at least for our brokerage over the years. But we've been a lot more clear on what we're looking for, and I think that helps them to move things along. If I'm looking at internally, I think that so-called fight for talent is still out there. We're in a very small market, trying to do big things, and trying to move that along is really hard when you have shortages, or someone comes along and swoops up one of your people for a number that you're not willing to pay, or whatever happens there. And that has happened several times to us in recent years. But better understanding, the other thing is better understanding our data analytics, so to make future decisions. So we make a lot of decisions right now on historical data, but we'd like to take that data to make better future decisions, and actually move that forward from just doing things a little bit differently than what we've done in the past. I don't know if I'm really clear on that, but that's our next step forward. And then, last but not least, I think the economy is something that's going to hurt purchasing decisions. I don't know, especially our commercial book, not so much personal lines, but our commercial book is, we're a small, medium-sized commercial shop, and I worry about the longevity or how the sustainability of some of the businesses that we have to insure at times.
Okay, so to recap, what I heard was insurers, BD reps, whoever they are for you, are doing a good job. HR wise, Adam and Lance are poaching your people. And 3, you're worried about the economy.
How, I mean, to pull on the staffing thread or onboarding the right teammates, I mean, what are you pulling out for tactics, or how are you handling that? Like, Newfoundland's not a really big market. Are you looking at or firing on remote? Are you hiring in other provinces? Like, what's working for you, or what are you suspicious to work soon?
Well, I mean, I don't have to tell you guys, we've all had to change since the pandemic, and remote work and working with these people and that kind of stuff. That's par for the course these days. But we're looking at things a little bit differently. When we go out there in the marketplace, we're looking at who's a fit. So we've introduced some things to our HR environment where we're actually, when we bring people on, we're running some testing against our current staff, and are they going to be a culture fit? Where they are with. One of the things when you have a digitalized brokerage is that some of the brokers that come from some other traditional shops are not going to fit into with you or what you're doing, and that's been a challenge in itself. Is that when they come over from a direct writer, they come in, that kind of thing, and all of a sudden we offer different markets to them. We offer them different challenges. So if they were with Johnson's, for instance, who's a big employer in our town, and they're using one market, using that straight through flow, and they fit there or they don't fit, it's a different challenge to go to a independent broker, and that's kind of where we are. And we're really trying to. We got a HR advisor. There's not many in Atlantic Canada that actually have a HR person on staff, so we're doing some recruitment and talent expos and all this kind of stuff, and trying to find people whichever way we can.
Cool. All right, let me switch gears here a little bit. You, CJ, you recently were a member of the IBAC Tech Committee, so you've got a perspective both from sort of the national level as well as your own brokerage. But what do you think the industry needs to be doing to accelerate connectivity? Right, and I'm talking specifically about connectivity between your carriers and, in your case, Epic or other VMSs.
Some of the challenges still remain. I mean, some of these legacy systems are not able to move it along. I think our relationships with the carriers and what we're trying to achieve has gotten a lot better, Tom. I mean, you're a part of that. That certainly seems like when I'm actually having meetings now with some of these carriers and that kind of thing, they're actually talking some of the lingo that we tried to push a couple of years ago. So that's a real good change. And then you got to get the BMS vendors on board too as well. All of them. There's some money to be made and some money not to be made, and we all know that influences decisions too as well. And whether we like that or not, that's kind of the way it is. But I don't know where you guys have gone. I'm hearing the insurance companies use the lingo now, Tom. So I think that was a step in the right direction, if not anything else, in the last 12 months for sure.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I just had the opportunity to sit through the IBAC board's insurer panel recently. And I would say outside of, there's 7 carriers and 6 of them were, saying the right things for sure. And I mean, there's still a lot of work to go, but I think the arrow is pointing in the right direction.
CJ, you served on AppliedNet. Maybe tell listeners how long you've been on the AppliedNet Advisory Council and what your thoughts about what Applied's doing and where they're going.
Yeah, so I'm on the Applied Client Network Board of Directors. That's the user group for Applied. I'm the only Canadian there right now. That's the first time that's happened in quite a few years. It's a very interesting time working through this because we all know that the expiry date's coming up on the TAM system. And there's going to have to be, Canadian brokers are only going to have one avenue to go if they're going to stay with an applied BMS system. That's Epic. In the US, they've bought EasyLink. So if you're a brokerage or agency, 15 to 20 users or less type thing, you can sort of switch over to EasyLinks and make it work and go. But when we're talking about these things, I think Taylor Rhodes brings a lot of new energy, different energy in there that hasn't been. I'm not saying it hasn't been there, but it's a different way of thinking, and we're seeing that in many different ways, and how it's playing out. When we, not trying to be delicate here, but I just think that the brokers in Canada are really who have to make that transition from TAM to Epic. If they're a traditional shop or someone that's not really digitized, I mean, Jeff, and there's different ways of looking at this kind of stuff. But if you are in that vein and you have to move over, like that's a mountain to climb, and especially if you don't have an IT manager or someone that's able to control that whole piece and move it. And it's going to take an awful lot of work. And I think there's going to be some brokers in Canada that are going to make the move. I think there's going to be some brokers that are going to self-select out and say, I think I'm going to call a career, and here's my keys, and here's my cell phone. And I think there's some others that are going to have some real struggles of, do they continue down with Applied, or do they move on to an Acturus or a Vertifor or someone else? So that's kind of where it is in Canada. I know that Applied has really grown their number of seats, and they're still increasing in number of brokerages. So and they've taken on some bigger brokers in throughout North America. So that's kind of where they are. You learn a lot of what's going on in not only in the Canadian marketplace, but the North American marketplace when you're on the ACN board, because you're dealing with people from California and Texas and New York and Florida and the Midwest and Arizona, and it's very interesting to see how all the different dynamics play out, and what they're doing compared to what we're doing and that kind of thing. But it's been a cool ride. Been on there since 2019. I think my first 2019 in Vegas was my first meeting with Applied Client Network, and we've grown as a group, but there's different challenges today than there was even 3 years ago.
So consolidations. We're probably going to talk more about consolidations of insurers because my understanding in Newfoundland, there's been a mitt full of brokers forever. There's only been 4 or 5 suppliers forever. That's still the case for you guys in Newfoundland, but has consolidation of markets or brokerages affected you guys, and how?
It certainly has. I mean, losing RSA last year, I mean, that was one of, we had 4 broker markets pretty much in the province, and now we're down to 3. Now it's pretty much Intact, Travelers, Aviva. And unless you've got a unique package with a group or something like that, and we're talking about personal lines here right now. I mean, it's a tough slug. You're right, Steve, that there has been a lot of the consolidation for brokers and agents in Newfoundland happened, I'm going to say, in the 80s and early 90s. So that's why it's sort of down to anywhere from 14 to 18 brokers, and now it's even less than that with some of the BrokerLink acquisitions and other ones that have happened here. But I don't know what the answer is here. We are begging other insurance companies to want to come do business in Newfoundland, but it's for the amount of business they're going to get, it may be a little bit cost prohibitive. That government doesn't understand why it's cost prohibitive, because they think everyone should want to be here, but like we're such a small little entity here that it doesn't make much sense to spend a lot of money to not achieve any of the goals that you want financially here. And I don't think that the insurance companies government understands that, and the investment that these 3 insurance companies left have made to stay in this province.
Okay, so as you're thinking about bringing more insurers into the province, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with your current carriers?
Listen, man, I'll be honest with you. I think they've done a very good job for the amount of grief that they take here. Lawyers sort of run the show here in many different ways. The way the system is set up, it's very tough for an insurance company to get ahead. There's no credit rating here being able to use for scoring out. So you're trying to do things around credit rating without using credit rating, if you know what I mean. Like, there's marketing ways of looking at demographics or looking at ways of doing things that are but I don't know if the government understands that it's even an issue. And Intact, Aviva, and Travelers have made a big commitment here. I'm hoping that we could ask a Pembridge or a CAA or an Economical or someone else to come back in, but it's an investment in time and money that I think that it's better spent elsewhere. I hate to say that, but I do believe that's true.
What's the immigration growing at? Like, is GDP of Newfoundland growing up? Is there more people, or are they all just swapping clients?
So I think last year was the first time we actually had a population increase in like 10 years. I think we only had somewhere between 5,000 and 7,500 immigrants that were allotted for our province, and I think they were trying to get that to 10,000 or 12,000 for this year. Like, it's a relative number, but apparently 60, and the Avalon Peninsula is where half of our population is, and apparently 60% of the immigrants that came to Newfoundland went to outside areas of our province, so not even in the city type thing. So that's a very interesting. I was down at the Employers Council of Newfoundland, and we had some of our politicians there, and I guess the politician that leads the immigration charge here, he was giving out some stats and that kind of thing, and it was a little bit shocking. It was a little bit different than I thought it was. But we certainly do need more people in this province and that kind of thing. And even though we're the youngest and the coolest, I don't think we're the youngest and coolest by age of people staying here. And that's a challenge for us, especially when you have doctors and nurses and those type of people taking employment elsewhere. So that's a challenge for us.
So CJ, we've been asking you some specific questions here and there, but I'm sure you've got some thoughts about what the industry can and should do to to get better. So why don't you kind of take us to the end of the conversation here with what would you, if you had a magic wand, if you had 3 wishes, what would you like to see happen to the industry?
Oh, well, obviously, I mean, the very first one is the one we talked about a few minutes ago. I mean, we've got to get connectivity. I mean, that's first and foremost. That's how we compete. That's how we do better. Well, as brokers, at least, anyway. I'm sure there's direct writers who are very happy that we're in the place that we're in right now.
Just for the record, I only talk about the broker channel.
Yeah.
The direct channel, whatever. This is specific to the broker channel.
Yeah, I think that's first and second on most of our lists. That's the biggest thing. Some of the BMS systems too, as well. I mean, if I look at Apply, they're purchasing all these other pieces and that kind of thing and bringing them in. I wish they would bring some of these other pieces that got brought in and bring them to fruition. So, with Indio and some of these other transactions that they've made, they've sort of brought them in, but they're not really getting to the final stages of where they have to be to on the interfacing and that kind of thing and matching that stuff up. That's something that I believe is something that has to happen, and we got to get a little faster with that. And I think our company partners really need to help us get over this hump of just being more connected with them in many different ways, whether it's help with the BDM product, insurance. Well, it's not allowed. You're not allowed to use InsurTech anymore unless you're selling directly. So what's the word you use for? I don't know. Ancillary tech. I don't know what you use. I mean,
I used to call it broker tech.
Broker tech. Okay, there you go. Broker tech. So, but we're using so many different fundamental ancillary products to make our brokerages run. It's sometimes you're wondering what the overlap is and where you're going and what's happening, and that is the part that's killing me deep down inside right now. And I don't even know, like, the enhancement that's happening over here and the enhancements that are happening over here, are they like running together? Are they running separately? Like, how are they helping us? It's interesting. I mean, there are so many things. The connectivity is the biggest one, though. I think we would, Steve and I, put out that I don't know, I feel like that Jerry Maguire paper there a few years ago, and some of us got burned to the curb on that, but that's okay. But I'm liking the language I'm hearing from our carriers, and I'm hoping that pushes forward. And I'm going to see Jason Storer this week, and I'm going to remind him once again. I think this whole InsurTech piece has really slowed down. I mean, that engine seems like it's slowed down in the U.S. and that kind of thing. I don't think they were understanding the whole insurance premise at times and that kind of thing. Like, they actually had to build something, and there were payouts when there were consequences to some of the things that they were doing. So I think that slowed down some of it. But we're going to see new entrants into that, and things are going to get smarter. But I hope that they start to partner with us as opposed to going their own route with some of these, with Google or an Amazon or something like that. But we're already seeing signs that that's not the case.
Okay, well, let me just do a quick shout out to our sponsor, IFS Premium Finance. So this is not possible without the support from them. So thanks so much, guys. And we have a new charity sponsor, and that is the Excalibur Read to Ride program. So it's a really amazing program that Jeff's been sponsoring for a couple of years now, and we're gonna support that. So
thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Is retention important to your brokerage? Of course it is. That's why at IFS, we have a cancellation prevention process. Want more details? Give us a call. I know you don't always use a premium finance company, but when you do, you should use IFS. Cheers.